Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account and I'm going to be doing an Awakened Hero tier list, guys. Now this is a little bit more difficult to do, so I'm going to go through, kind of run through. I went over to Tier Maker, we built them out. I'm going to show you exactly why. Now we do have already 2 Awakened Heroes within the Lightbearers. We have 1 in the Maulers, 1 in the Wilders, 1 in the Graveborn. We have 2 Celestials now with the addition of the Awakened version of Athalia. We also do have 2 Hypogean heroes. And when it comes to the dimensionals, we do not think at this point there are going to be any Awakened dimensional heroes. But that is yet to be seen if they do and move into the Awakened heroes here. And we're also waiting to see if we do get a dimensional tower, essentially. Hopefully someday, as you can see, we're starting to get a lot more of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at this tier list. All right, guys, so here we are taking a look at the tier list again. This is over on Tier Maker. I'm going to run through here. I'm going to break down each individual hero and the reason why I placed them. And then, of course, we have the Awakened version of Athalia, which is a little bit too early to tell. I mean, we've only had her for about 3 days now to see exactly where she falls. So looking at the top tier, guys, it is the Awakened version of Belinda. Now, S++, which she is unanimously the strongest Awakened hero when it comes to damage, when it comes to overall utility within AFK Arena. If you've been in the Abyssal Expedition, she is the best in slot. Treasure Scramble, she is actually one of the absolute, if not the highest scoring team that we're seeing percentage-wise within the Treasure Scramble. We are also seeing her dominating the Lightbearer Tower when it comes to the Cursed Realm, the Twisted Realm, every single game mode, including the campaign, which is kind of unlikely. Even looking at the Temporal Rift, guys, the Awakened version of Belinda is there. Now, one of the caveats to her is even at a lesser level than having her fully maxed out, built out 5 stars, you know, plus 100 engraving, she works incredibly well. A lot of players even have her at Legendary, at Mythic, just at Ascended, adding 1 star for the engraving. She is one of the heroes that is an absolute game changer, guys. And again, a lot of players are even running her at 1 single copy, which is awesome. With her being a damage dealer, the higher that you do build her out, the stats, of course, are going to compound on there, meaning that she is going to put out a lot more damage if you're looking for best in slot. Again, she is a hero, even at a lower level, still works incredibly well. With the Awakened heroes, guys, I highly recommend building them out, and we always talk about building them out 1 by 1. The reason is when you go in there and you're building an Awakened hero, if you don't build them out to their entirety, they're missing a lot of the skills and abilities that they do possess. Now, S+, we have the Awakened version of Solas. Very similar to Belinda, but kind of a different utility. Now, she is the support hero that we have, and overall, her support in formations is, again, utilized in an incredible amount of formations, guys. I do not know any game mode, including the campaign, where she is not being run. I use her in the Treasure Scramble, the Cursed Realm, the Twisted Realm, the Nightmare Corridor she has used, the Treasure Scramble she has used, even the Temporal Rift she is in my teams. Again, the utility of this hero is absolutely incredible. So the caveat between those two are really some players are going in and just getting Belinda up to, let's say, Mythic, then going in for Solas or building Belinda, the Awakened version of Belinda out all of the way. My recommendation, guys, is getting, and again, this is kind of a general rule that I use, is if you got 1 copy of the Awakened version of Belinda and then 1 copy of the Awakened version of Solas, both of those are 2 heroes that work incredibly well without the super high investment in there, which is the reason why I love them, their utility, especially if you are an earlier player. Grabbing 1 copy of each of those, and then I would probably just go right back to that Awakened version of Belinda. I would build her up, but at least you have the legendary copy of Solas, and you have those copies of Belinda, so you can actually utilize both of them, then coming right back to Solas to actually build her out in her entirety. Now, looking at the S, I put Brutus and Matria in here, and again, we're going to talk about them a little bit. Brutus, of course, guys, a lot of shielding, a lot of crowd control, a lot of survivability, does a considerable amount of damage, even in a couple builds, still the best in slot for a lot of different campaign formations. Still the best in slot, Treasure Scramble, Nightmare Corridor. Also seeing within the Cursed Realm, the Awakened version of Brutus is still having an incredible amount of utility within those game modes. We see him run with Anasta, run in a couple different formations, which brings us to Matria. Now, Matria works incredibly well, but There is a caveat to her, guys, is you do have to have Hypogen heroes built. Now, let me say that again, guys. Matria works incredibly well. However, you have to have a considerable amount of your Hypogen heroes built out to really unlock and see her full utility. Even a lot of players are saying there is no reason at all to build Olgath unless you have her built. Same with her, her and Olgath together, her and Frampton together, Kanisa and Rook. Looking at Mortis in a buffer, a buffing aspect in there. There's a lot of heroes, again, that are really built around Matria. If you do not have a significant investment within the Hypogens, overall, I would build Brutus out of this formation because, again, his utility in the campaign and in different game modes is much higher than Matria, especially if you do not have those solid built Hypogens to really support what Matria can do within combat formations. Now, looking at the S-Class, we have the Awakened version of Baden and the Awakened version of Thane. You could really dispute Baden, kind of looking at around the same utility of what we see of Brutus. Thane going down a little bit. We've actually seen him sort of the treasure scramble, and I believe one cursed realm comp still, that he is still being utilized, guys. So, I mean, we could even possibly move Baden right up here to kind of go in this formation again, generally speaking. Still am seeing a lot of utility for all three of those heroes. And then also when it comes to the Awakened version of Athalia, guys, we're not sure if she is going to fall in the S or the S- class at this point, because again, she is relatively too new within formations. Now, one thing that I will note with the Awakened version of Athalia is we've seen her show up in the Nightmare Corridor. We've also seen her within the Cursed Realm. But within those game modes, she is really being utilized in there as a buffer with her SP effect to allow like Oden to do a lot more damage. She overall is not doing the damage, where in the case of the Awakened version of Belinda, she is just absolutely broken. Her damage is going in the billions when it comes to having her completely built. We are not seeing that same turnout with Athalia. Even in the Cursed Realm comp that I'm thinking about, Oden does about 700, I think it's like 700, a million or billion, and she is about a half of that, from looking at the numbers from the whale. So again, her buffs are doing incredibly well with that SP effect, but overall in a lot of formations, she is not the absolute primary damage dealer that we thought she would be looking at the build, which again is still a little bit too early to tell. Now, when it comes to the Awakened version of Thane, again, we drop him down a little. Reason being, the utility within the Cursed Realm is slowly going away. Treasure Scramble, absolutely, he is solid PvP teams, very solid. But again, when you look at the percentages of the teams that are running the utility, his percentage is much lower than we see with Solus, than we see with Matria, than we see with the Awakened version of Belinda. And also when it comes to the Cursed Realm, Twisted Realm, I'm not seeing a lot of utility within those game modes either, which brings them down a little bit further. Now, Talene comes in at the A rating, reason being, short of now the Celestial Tower, not really any utility that we're seeing with her. And even with the Awakened exchange, most players swap the Awakened version of Talene to either Baden or Brutus or Solus, because those were really your best choices. Overall, short of, again, that Celestial Tower, we're not seeing a lot of utility. You can put her in a couple different formations for the SP effect, things of that nature. But again, it seems like she's slowly falling down as we see the power creep continue to all of these new heroes. And even when it comes to the damage dealer, she was a primary damage dealer within that tower. But now with the addition of the Awakened version of Athalia, she will absolutely take that slot when it comes to a damage dealer within there. I know Athalia, or Talene, the Awakened version of Talene, was a tank, with Athalia being a warrior, still doing a lot of damage. Then at the very bottom, guys, we have the Awakened version of Aziz. Little to no utility in there. He is just a one-off crowd control hero. Overall, one copy is all you need, guys. That is what I have even into chapter 48. There is no reason to build him out whatsoever, honestly. He does well, similar to like a Mihira. The Awakened version of Aziz will do incredibly well in a comp because fundamentally he is just there for that freeze effect that he has right off the bat with the crowd control. And if you build him up higher, we actually had a lot of issues running him through the Hypogen Tower because of offsetting the Awakened version of Lucretia, not the Awakened version, because he would not die. He would actually, his skills and abilities with the SP effect would keep him from dying, so Lucretia would not get the buffs in here. Guys, again, as of today, this is really the general the Awakened guide that you guys have been looking for. A lot of players have been asking. Again, Athalia could go up or down depending on the utility. When you look at a lot of these heroes, they take a while to find exactly where they go. Even looking at the 4 common faction heroes, some of those took weeks, even months before we started seeing those in utilities. Even when the Awakened version of Belinda came out, she was kind of lower on the tier list. They put her as 3rd or 4th. Now, again, we have seen her absolute dominance. We found the teams that she has the most utility with, which again, shot it through the roof. Her damage went through the roof. Even at a lesser mode, she will work. All right, guys, so that'll do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Awakened version of the tier list. And as always, thank you guys for watching.